Welcome back to Fickle Sports and welcome back to another score predictions video. Yes, we are back, and we do just want to say a quick sorry because we're trying to get these videos out as quickly as possible. It's tough in this festive period. Time is at a premium. Before we get into the scores for last game week, we just want to say a quick thank you to every single one of our subscribers and all our new subscribers, and every single one of you who comment and like. We appreciate every single one of you. Thank you.
Now on to the scores. Between Alex and I. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to claw my way back. We both scored 4 for this week. It's quite a pitiful points total from us yet again, and that is 18-15 for the month. So I need some perfect scores, really. That's what I need. But on to our subscriber scores, and Night Girl 14, boo, 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 7, as you can see on the screen. As you can see on the screen, 7, 2 perfect scores. Well done.
So, first game of the game week is Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. It is taking place on Saturday at 12:30 at Selhurst Park. Now, in Palace's last game against West Ham, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that they didn't get all 3 points in that first half. I feel they played really well. They created more than enough chances to go in at least 2 up, and they just they weren't able to take those chances. And in the second half, West Ham came out a little bit fighting. Palace weren't able to dominate as much as they did in the first, but they were a little let down. Firstly, by that incredible Haller goal. There's not a lot you could do about that. And then the Benteke send off really didn't help them either. And I thought it was a bit harsh, to be honest with you. I did think as soon as it happened, it was going to go up to VAR and get overturned. I was quite shocked when it didn't.
Yeah, it was quite soft, but they don't punish the intent. If they're just seeing it as an elbow to the face, and they're just punishing that, which kind of does look kind of soft. But this is the rules we live in now.
Yeah, salmon diving only. You can only salmon. That's all you're allowed to do.
Now, Liverpool, that was a massive 6-pointer to win at the top of the table. Tottenham were quite impressive, and it's always great to score a winner basically at the death of any game. I really felt in that first half, Liverpool showed, the way forward to take down a Mourinho tactic of sitting back and laying back. They were really incisive with their passing, and they were aggressive, and they had really good passes at the right time, which is what you need to shift that Tottenham defense and midfield. But of course, they concede with the very first shot of the game. Heung-min Son, he is a dangerous striker, and he gets up to the field in like 2 seconds, it feels. But I felt like Liverpool were rewarded. They had most of the possession in the second half. They conceded some scary chances to Tottenham, and you could kind of see the frailties in that back line of Liverpool, which they really want Van Dijk back, really. But doesn't matter. Take the points against Tottenham and that 3-point buffer at the top.
What's your prediction for this one?
Crystal Palace are quite difficult, but I like the fighting spirit of Liverpool, so I'm going 3-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm going 2-0 Liverpool.
Next up is Southampton versus Man City, 3 o'clock Saturday. Now, Southampton, I felt like they weren't ruthless enough against Arsenal. They came up against a team that literally had zero confidence. Doesn't matter if Arsenal were playing at home, and they really controlled that first half, and they did well. They went up 1-0. It was a great slide through ball by Adams to set Walcott, who expertly chipped that over Leno. We've seen Walcott do that many times at the Emirates in his time. But my criticism with Southampton, I think, Arsenal came out in the second half and they were aggressive and they got the goal back. When they went down to 10 men, that's where I really wanted Southampton to show some aggression, because in my eyes, I think Southampton were the better team, definitely, than this Arsenal team at the moment. And it's difficult to break down 10 men, but I didn't see the aggression to really take the points. And they could have been top of the league, if only for an hour.
For Manchester City against West Brom, that that is not a great result for them at all. I think Pep summed it up quite well, that essentially if Manchester City wants to be anywhere near that top of the table, they do need to beat teams out in and around the relegation zone, as West Brom are. But City started slowly, which I didn't really expect, because I thought after the Manchester derby and that 0-0, I really thought they was going to come out fighting, but it took them a while to get into the game. Once they did, I think they created more than enough chances to go 2 or 3 ahead. The issue was just the finishing. They were either hitting it straight at the goalkeeper or they were missing the target, obviously, other than the actual goal. And I think for the goal they conceded, I think you should expect him to be a lot stronger there. Don't get me wrong, that was very unfortunate with deflection. Ederson was already going one way and it deflected the other way, so he had absolutely no chance with it. But I think, Ake really has to be stronger there in those situations. And I know we said this last week, and I don't know how many times we can keep saying it, but I'm sort of expecting a reaction again from City, but I'll be worried if there isn't one against Southampton.
Yeah, they dropped 4 points, which is not good. We thought before that they'll be back to their best, but they're lagging behind once again. Score predictions though, who you got?
I can't ignore kind of City like staggering a little bit. It's a story we've said so many times that they create the chances, but they just don't seem to in some games pick up the 3 points. And I'm going for a 2-2.
No, I'm going 2-1 Man City. I think they'll finally get their win here.
Next up is Everton versus Arsenal. It is taking place at 5:30 on Saturday at Goodison Park. Now, Everton and Ancelotti, I think they found a little bit of a groove with teams above them in the table. They seem to be quite happy to not have possession, but they do really, really well with what little they have of the ball. And it was another brilliant defensive showing by Everton against Leicester. I think Richarlison's movement and his run for the goal was really good, although I think Schmeichel will be upset that he let that one slip between his fingers. And it was I'd say a good finish by Holgate. It's a difficult one. He was in the right place at the right time, but I think if I was an Everton fan, after that pinball and it didn't go in twice, I think they still deserve the goal off the back of that. But it was a really solid performance by Everton, and I suppose if we're with Arsenal coming in, probably one of the teams you don't want to be playing. Although I would add, before you get onto Arsenal, Gary, it did look like he picked up a serious injury against Leicester, so that might be one to keep an eye out for.
As for Arsenal, another day, another mini meltdown. We can't get past this at the moment, In the end, I guess Arsenal will be pretty happy to take the point. The number one thing to do was to not lose this game. I have no idea, but if Arteta lost this one and another one, I think he would have been gone. I do feel sorry for Arteta in the sense that what are his players doing? They just don't have any discipline at the moment, and they're really costing him points at the moment. I don't want to criticize Gabriel so far because he's he's probably in contention for Arsenal Player of the Season. I know it doesn't mean much considering Arsenal's season so far, but yeah, he was rash. He got 2 silly yellow cards and in my mind deserved to go. But yeah, Arsenal, at least Aubameyang has scored. I mean, that's the only positive. Aubameyang scored, Bukayo Saka looked decent, but I don't know. It's just another game where Arsenal fans have to bite their lip, and they might not have any lip left against Everton.
What's your prediction for this one?
My juju with predicting Arsenal to win 4-0 against Southampton didn't work, so maybe I will predict a draw here. I'm going 1-1.
I'm going 2-1 Everton.
I don't blame you. Next up is Newcastle versus Fulham. And Newcastle, I was quite up on Newcastle last week. They were patching up a decent run of form, but this loss puts them back in the mud a little bit, and they're back to 1 win, 1 loss, and it's not great. But I won't be too critical because I felt like the game was it was quite even, it was quite competitive at 2-2. I think that the goal that eventually undid them, the third goal, I think they were just playing about with it on the edge of their box and they lost it, and it was quite frustrating to lose a goal like that. And by the fourth, fifth, the breakaway, it felt like the Newcastle players sort of gave up. In the end, you had 5 Leeds players bearing down on goal, and it was just, they lost it towards the end there.
Yeah, I have to say, I think Leeds in the end probably deserved the victory, but it was one of them where 5-2 is probably a little bit harsh.
Yeah, it was definitely harsh because they did play well in the first half and the beginning of the second half, but too much for them in the end.
For Fulham, I don't think it wasn't a brilliant performance, but I don't think it was a bad performance either. It was a very good effort defensively. I think they did really well defensively, but they never really overextended themselves. So they never really put themselves in a position where they were going to really hurt Brighton. But to be fair, I don't think Brighton did either. So it ended up being one of those games where no team really wanted to go too far into the attack and potentially leave themselves short at the back. I think in the end, a 0-0 was probably fair. There was loads of incidents, it seems, in every game this game week, but there were a few incidents in this game as well, with Brighton having a goal ruled out. But again, Fulham could have potentially had a penalty as well.
Score predictions.
Oh, this is a tough one. I think this really is a tough one, but I think I'm going for a 0-0.
0-0, okay. I'm backing Newcastle to win 2-1. They lose one and then they win one. So this time they're winning this.
Fair enough. So first game up of Sunday is Brighton versus Sheffield United. It's taking place at midday. Now, Brighton, I know we just did Fulham, and I could pretty much copy and paste what I said about Fulham in for the Brighton explanation. It wasn't a bad performance. It wasn't a good performance. They did well defensively, but they never really overextended themselves. But Fulham was also guilty of that. Welbeck had an excellent chance in what was a really kind of boring first half. There really weren't that many chances created in that first half. I think Brighton can feel a bit hard done by the VAR decision, because Welbeck had no idea where that ball was going. There's no way he meant that, and I really do think it's quite harsh to give that as a handball.
He was facing entirely the different way, and it bounced like underneath his arse onto his arm. So how's he supposed to know where that ball is?
Yeah, let's address this. It was a terrible touch. Welbeck does not have the technique to be able to shoot the ball up to his hand. So I think they were disappointed with that. But just as I said in the Fulham review, I think 0-0 was probably a fair result. No team really showed enough ambition to really win the game.
For Sheffield United, they did well to go up 1-0, and they worked hard for that, and they should have gone 2-0 up. John Fleck, he was there on the edge of the box, and that was terrible. I think he just passed it out for a goal kick. He had the whole goal to aim for, and he really missed the target. And then I get onto the defending. It's tough because I don't want to take too much away from the long balls that Man United play, because the one from Lindelof and from Pogba were very good. They were exceptional passes, but it just felt with the defending that the defenders just switched off and they allowed those long passes just to go straight up the middle, and it was a classic, say, centre back to centre forward finish. And I don't know, I feel like Sheffield United would be kicking themselves for letting that one slip from going 1-0 up and ahead, and they could have been 2-0 up.
Yeah, they seem an absolute shadow of the team that we saw last season. What's your prediction for this one?
Tough one. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to say the points will be shared.
I'm going 1-0 Brighton. Next up is Tottenham versus Leicester City. It is taking place at 2:15 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, Tottenham will be disappointed with that result against Liverpool, I feel. They knew what to expect with Liverpool coming into it, and Liverpool didn't disappoint. They dominated possession and they passed the ball really, really well. But I think Mourinho actually got his tactics spot on, except for one part, because the 3 rules to the Mourinho tactic is defend in numbers, transition quickly, and be efficient with your chances. And Tottenham had more than enough chances to go ahead in that game, and they did not take them. And of all the teams in the Premier League that you can't take your chances against, it is Liverpool. And in the end, I think it's fair to say Liverpool probably deserved that result, because Tottenham had their chances, they didn't take them. So I think they'd be disappointed with that in the end.
Now Leicester City, that was a bit of a stinker to lose that one against Everton. Everton, I feel, really got their tactics right. But I do think that Richarlison goal was kind of a bit too cheap. I kind of think every time a player cuts in towards goal, I think it's a cheap goal to concede, because if you just have your defenders or your midfielders press at the right time, they're never going to really get that shot off. And I feel like Schmeichel will be definitely disappointed with himself that he let that trickle in, because he's more than capable of making that save. And you had Jamie Vardy, who was point blank, and if you wanted a player in that position at that time with that cross, it was Jamie Vardy all day long. And yeah, he didn't bring the goods with that one. And then conceding at a set piece, the crowding the box is quite a tactic that's trending on in the Premier League. And Schmeichel almost pulled off a worldie there. I don't know how he saved that, but 3 bites at the cherry, and 2-0, and the game was over essentially.
What's your prediction for this one?
I don't know. This is a tough one. This has been a tough stretch for Tottenham, and I don't know if he will still use his tactic against Leicester. That's where I'm kind of confused. Will he take the initiative?
I think he'll be wary of the fact that Leicester are at their best when they are countering, and I think he'll want to try to avoid that. So I'm going for a 1-0 Tottenham.
Ooh. Next up is Man United versus Leeds, and Man United, at the beginning, that was a pretty bad mistake from Henderson, on his return to Sheffield United. There must come a point, obviously I've never really played as a goalkeeper, but when the play is bearing down on you, you must have to press the eject button and just go like boom, smash it out. I don't care where it goes. And yeah, he'll be very embarrassed at conceding that goal. It's the pressure of being Man United goalkeeper number one. It's different to being the number one goalkeeper for Sheffield United. But yeah, I think United, they've showed a lot of guts again to come back from a goal down. They've been doing that almost every single week now. It's quite remarkable, and a lot of credit has to go to the players and Ollie. And I thought you saw the world class ability of Pogba show out this game. We all know he has that ability. That no look ball over the top from Martial. That he had 100% chemistry to pull that off. And the way he broke for that third goal, he just strides, breaks through a couple tackles, a couple players, and like instantly Man United they have the overload and the advantage on the break. And you just want to see Pogba do more of these performances and not be in the papers about wanting to leave.
For Leeds, it was a really good performance by Leeds. They thoroughly deserved their victory against Newcastle, although it has to be said it was not a perfect performance. The set-piece problem, which Leeds have struggled with so far this season, did rear its ugly head again. But fortunately for Leeds, their attacking was just far too good in this game. They scored some brilliant goals, and I think they saved the best for last, and that was the Harrison goal. That was a brilliant run and a brilliant strike. And I have to say, the assist he got as well, that touch and cross was absolutely brilliant. So, as I say, lots and lots of positives from that game, but not without some negatives.
I love that Rodrigo goal. It was like the longest 1-2 in history to set up a goal. He passed it all the way to the corner, crossed it all the way back to header it in, and I thought that was fantastic. You reckon
they said 1-2 when they did it as well?
Yeah, that on song. Bielsa's tactics. But score prediction, what have you got here? You can't upset Mickey Leeds again. Is that what you're going to do?
He's already called us out. We haven't even done the prediction. But I am going for United haven't been great. I'm going for 2-2.
I'm going for Leeds to score in the first half, Man United to come back 2-1, because they've just been doing it all the time.
Next up is West Brom versus Aston Villa. Is taking place at 7:15 at the Hawthorns. Now, West Brom, they'll be absolutely delighted with getting a point away to Manchester City. I think that game probably went exactly how they thought it was going to go beforehand. They rode their luck a little bit. City, they weren't as clinical as they should have been. But at the same time, Johnson was on some ridiculous, impenetrable form. he just absolutely outright refused City for getting a winner. So I think they'd be really, really happy with that point. But that wasn't the weirdest thing that happened to West Brom. It was Slaven Bilic, after getting that point against Manchester City, got sacked. And who did they bring in? The man, the myth, the legend, Big Sam, who's been rubbing his hands together since the beginning of the season, knowing that around Christmas time his time would come. And it has come.
Yeah, good old Sam Allardyce. He's been parachuted in. You know, it's his specialty. I'm pretty sure he will get a feisty stay up bonus. But you know, yeah, you West Brom fans are gonna have to sell your soul a little bit for Premier League safety. It's not gonna be the funnest way of playing football. But yeah. Now Aston Villa, they did everything but score a goal against Burnley. I predicted a frustrating game. I wish it wasn't true, but you know, yeah, 27 shots on goal and a frustrating 0-0. They hit the woodwork twice. I feel that chance from House was the one that they really wanted to score, because that was like the clearest one. He hit the bar essentially, and you know. Burnley
I don't know if that's fair. I feel like a few of the Aston Villa players are probably a little bit guilty of scoring chances they should have.
Yeah, but you know, I just felt with Burnley, the defenders, they were throwing their bodies all over. At one stage, I think I saw like 5 or 6 players like behind the goal, in the goal, basically, and like basically defending it like it was like Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings. It was that crazy. So you know. Burnley worked hard for it. It frustrated Aston Villa, and that is the realms of, you know, FIFA rage quit territory, where, you know, if you conceded that goal, you know, Burnley were they had a few chances early on. They could have gone 1-0 up, and if you had 27 shots on goal and you lost the game, that would be the most frustrating thing. So, got the point in the end, but yeah, they'll be frustrated.
The issue with Villa is that they've had the amateur level in Deitch. Now they have the boss level in Allardyce. It might be another frustrating game.
Yeah. Hopefully don't go back all the way to level 1 in the game somehow.
What's your prediction for this one?
Yeah, I think Big Sam will have a bounce. I think it's going to be 2-1 to West Brom. I'm sorry, Carl, but this is what Big Sam was made for. This is what he does.
I feel like maybe it might be too soon for Big Sam to get his fingers into West Brom to get his way, and Villa have been really good away, so I'm going to go 1-0 Villa.
Next up is Burnley versus Wolves, and Burnley, you have to say, they did get overrun by Aston Villa, you know, conceding 27 shots. And
understatement of the season.
Yeah, and Villa hitting the woodwork. But I have to say, with the Burnley defenders, they work so hard defensively, and everything that they could do to make sure that they didn't concede, they absolutely did. And I think that's still reward for all their efforts, because, you know, beginning of the season, they were putting in a lot of effort, but they were just getting punished left, right and centre. But at least here they got, you know, what their defensive efforts, you know, deserved. Deitch said it right, you know, that's 4 clean sheets in 5 away games, and that's something to build on for them. And he's right. You set that right, and they do realise that they have to reset their offensive game, and they will do eventually. But at least this is something to build on.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like sometimes Burnley get they get unfairly treated. You know, there is no right or wrong way to play football, and as far as Burnley are concerned, that's another point towards safety for this season. For Wolves, they reverted to a back 5, which I really think worked a treat for them. I did feel that during this game, it was a bit of a tactical battle between Frank and Nuno got the upper hand on Frank. They was able to nullify Chelsea for large parts of that game and really stop them from playing to their strengths. Patricio might be a little bit upset with the goal he conceded, but I think he doesn't have to be too harsh on himself. The ball did come at him very quickly. As the game went on, you could feel the momentum moving towards Wolves as Chelsea weren't able to score more goals, and it was real quality for opponents and Neto for them to get the equaliser and the subsequent winner.
I think it was an excellent response to that loss to Aston Villa at the last minute. You know, to come out and beat Chelsea. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. But score predictions, what have you got here?
I'm going for a 2-1 Wolves.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going 1-1. I'm going 1-1. Frustration is the key for Burnley. Let's do it.
So we move on to the last game of the game week, which is Chelsea versus West Ham. It is taking place at 8 p.m. at Stamford Bridge. Now, Chelsea started a little slowly against Wolves. Perhaps they was a little bit shell-shocked from their first loss since September, which ironically came against the other half of Liverpool. But slowly they were able to get into the match a little bit, but I think that was largely thanks to Pulisic. Zuma was unlucky with his headed effort. And it was a lovely goal by Giroud. You know, we've come to know that he does love that near post running. It was a brilliant strike by him. And eventually the ball kind of trickled into the net. Lucky we have that goal line technology. Who knows what would have happened there? The referee would have guessed, I imagine. And then Podence scored that brilliant goal. But I have to say, I think Lampard would be a little bit disappointed with the Chelsea defenders there because they had more than enough players to deal with that situation. Podence should never have been allowed to get that shot off. And I think from that moment onwards, Chelsea could feel the momentum shifting toward Wolves. And in the end, it was just a very good pass, run and finish by Neto. There was not a lot I think either Zuma or Mendy could do about that goal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it feels like the Chelsea's momentum, their title charge just abruptly ended in the last two games. But, you know, they've got the quality to come back. West Ham, it was a very gutsy performance, you know, to come back against Crystal Palace, you know, to come back from 1-0 down against a team that really loves to frustrate opponents. And, you know, between those two, it was really a game where there was very few good chances. It took West Ham a lot to create some real good chances, and it took an absolute wonder goal in Haller to even up the score. Who I think that goal is goal of the season so far. I mean, if we see a better goal than that, then we'll be treated.
Am I right in saying that Andy Carroll did a bicycle kick against Palace for West Ham as well? It was against Palace, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So
I don't know.
Crystal Palace are suffering.
West
Ham. Well, hopefully nothing happens with Chelsea, because they absolutely hate each other. But, you know, West Ham, at the end of the day, a point is fine. You know, this is the Christmas period, and they've been impressive. You just got to make sure during this Christmas period you don't have a run of games where you lose too many points.
What's your prediction for this one?
My prediction is 2 red cards apiece. I would rather. I don't know. I think it's going to be 2-2. I really think there's going to be quite a few goals in this one.
I think it's going to be 1-1. I think West Ham, they do really well against the bigger teams, and they're going to be really up for this against this Chelsea side.
That is all for score predictions this week. Hopefully your team doesn't turn you into a Grinch for Christmas. Merry Christmas all. Merry Christmas, Alex.
And Merry Christmas to everyone other than Gary. I hope you have a lovely time with your families, and we look forward to seeing you on Boxing Day.
My present better be coming.
Oh, it's coming.
See you later.
Bye.